Hello, day 127 in my rebellious reality, and I'm looking fantastic as usual. Mama was up until, I don't know, I got like 3.5 hours of broken sleep, and then we had a hearing test to take her to because the hospital's machines were malfunctioning. So I lost a few hours of an opportunity to sleep, so I've been like passing out throughout the day with her. But I titled this breastfeeding today because holy crap, what a journey with breastfeeding so far. And I got to see a lactation consultant in the hospital. Then I asked a couple questions. I've heard about engorgement. I had heard about mastitis. So I asked those pointed questions. Other than that, I wouldn't have received information. And like I had mentioned, they like vaguely mentioned cluster feeding. But they did help me get like a good latch in the hospital, thank goodness. So then they sent me home, and like I'm cluster feeding a baby for days, and my boobs are like ready to explode. And then they get like these really firm areas in them, and like I'm like, okay, I didn't even know what the hell was going on, you know? So we're now days into this, and I had to do all this research, and what ends up happening is, and most women get this, so I'm going to talk to my midwives when I go to my follow-up visit and just tell them, listen, like, they were truly amazing, and they're like, if I didn't have my midwives, my birth could have gone a completely different way, and I'll be discussing my birth story and stuff eventually, but I am going to tell them, like, I did not receive information. And it's so wild because all they do is talk about like postpartum depression, blah, 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 postpartum depression. Everyone's so worried about postpartum depression, but you're going to send a first-time mother home without appropriate information or educational materials. Like, aren't you paving the way for some kind of postpartum depression in that way? You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm going to escalate that. But, what ends up happening is most women will, when their milk starts coming in, first you have colostrum, which is this like liquid gold that the baby, it's very thick, and the baby, it's the first thing the baby gets. That lasts for a few days. And then the cluster feeding, the reason they're feeding so much is because they're bringing all this milk in for you. And then as the milk's coming in, your breasts literally like fill up like in the mind-blowing ways. And then if it's like too much, you can get what's called clogged ducts. And if you look up what are they called, milk ducts in a human being, they're so wild looking how they are, but all these like little lines go into, you know, out of the breast, and then there's this like glandular tissue in the back, and the lines can get clogged, and then the glandular tissue builds up with all the milk and stuff, and it becomes firm. And then if you don't do anything about that for a while, you can get an infection. And that was my concern because I want to breastfeed, but the moment I get an infection, I'm on antibiotics and I can't breastfeed anymore. And apparently there's a massive fucking formula shortage across the nation, you know, which I wouldn't even considered giving her standardized formula. I would have made my own formula, but like now I'm gonna have to do that because I wasn't properly educated, you know what I mean? So anyway, I watched all these videos, and I found I was trying all the things in between, and it wasn't doing anything, and they were just so hard and firm in like these certain places. And I got this pump, this silicone manual pump called the Haku pump or something like that. And that is what helped me. And I got it yesterday, and I tried it last night, and you put it on, and it just provides like constant suction. And then I was like massaging at the same time, and oh my gosh, like I'm almost cured now from like, I've done it 3 times so far. But it was so wild. The wildest part for me is that it like after I finished and like some of my breasts like had cleared up and like some of the ducts had become unclogged, it was like unexplainable. There was like this euphoria that I came over me, and I went out and Brian was holding Katrina, and I'm like, I can't even like explain what, like how I feel, but I feel so much lighter, and like it's like it was like the energy completely changed in my body, and I had this like wave of euphoria. So every time I've done it, that happens, and it's like a little tender when you're doing it, you know. But it's like so worth it. It's almost like a high. It's like I'm gonna get addicted to expelling my little, or to unclogging my ducts or whatever. But yeah, so that's my little journey with breastfeeding so far. She's at first, like, you have to kind of like babysit the latch so you can get a good latch, because it's not supposed to be painful. And luckily I did have like some rawness in the beginning, but then I dealt with it for a couple days and it's really not painful anymore, and it cleared up. Some women have to go through this cluster feeding with like raw nipples and like blisters and all. I'm very blessed that I didn't have to do that. But yeah, she like will totally latch by herself now. My little milk monkey, she's going to town right now as we speak. She's hooked up to her infusion. But yeah, she's so special, and I love her so much. And as much as she's like what's the word? As much as she is just contributing to so much sleep deprivation, like I'll put her down and when she sleeps, she does these like model poses. Hey Dee, I love you, girl. I just saw that you were watching. She does like these model poses with her you know, and she looks so peaceful, and I'm just like, oh, I miss her so much. It's like she just like fed for 5 hours straight, and she's finally sleeping, and I'm like looking at her like, oh my god, you're so precious, I miss you. Oh, this journey is so beautiful. So that's today. That's where I'm at today. And I'm really looking forward to finding a norm. We went to the pediatrician on Saturday. We're gonna go again on Saturday. She's super duper healthy, and she said that for the first 3 months there's really no schedule. It's just kind of like every day is a new adventure. But from what I read about this cluster feeding situation, they end up doing this during like massive developmental milestones. So right now she's having one, then she's gonna have one in another, you know, I know it's like 3, 6, 9 months, but then there might be some more in between that. So I'm really just looking forward to getting through this initial one, where today she's 7 days old. At 4:07 she was a week old. It's just so, I can't even believe that time has gone that fast. But once we finish with this constant, you know, these feeding cycles, I'm gonna learn how to wrap her to my body. And I feel like I'm going to be able to start having a little bit more of a regularity in between times of nursing, and being able to like work on my Etsy and create a little bit, and just, you know, get some sort of norm where I can like be a human. What did you say, Dee? If you need help with nursing, I went through the gamut. You got this. Expect the unexpected. Thank you so much, hon. If I need anything, I'll definitely reach out. Yeah, I've been expecting the unexpected in my life for quite some time now, so I suppose I've been training for this in many a way. And of course they say there's never any accidents, but that's what I'm doing. I'm just letting it be what it is and doing my best to show up in in the best energy that I can in any given moment. But you know, when you're a zombie, that's a little bit hard. But it's so beautiful. Thanks for being on here with me, Dee. Dee and I went to high school together. We haven't seen each other for so many years. It's amazing how social media can keep you connected to everybody. I love you. I love you, everyone. I love you, Dee. Thank you so much for being here on this journey with me and just letting me kind of tell my little story as it unfolds. I will see you all tomorrow. I hope you have a beautiful evening. Thanks, sweetie.